5:42 local time. Multiple inbound contacts, bearing 060, range 18 miles, closing fast. No preamble, no warning shot. Just numbers lighting up the glass and a tone in the headset sharp enough to pull every eye in Combat Information Center toward the main display. 48 contacts. They are low, quick, and stacked in layers. 12 are holding around 300 feet. 36 are skimming at roughly 30 feet, barely above the wavetops, using the curve of the earth and sea clutter as cover. The SPY array sees them, but the picture is messy. Green returns flicker against whitecaps. Then the system steadies. Tracks lock in. Speed holds. Bearing stays constant. 8 minutes to the engagement window. The tactical action officer does not need to raise his voice. Classification comes quickly enough. The size and speed are consistent with one-way attack drones. The air search controller checks a second feed coming from high overhead. At 25,000 feet, an E-2D Hawkeye circles wide, its APY-9 radar sweeping beyond the horizon and layering the entire battle space. Hawkeye confirms all 48. 2 groups, primary northeast, secondary east. Now the number feels real, 48 inbound. A destroyer may carry 96 vertical launch cells, but not all of them are loaded for air defense. Some are reserved for ballistic threats. Some carry SM-6. Some are filled with Tomahawks for offensive missions. The air defense magazine available in the moment is always limited. It always comes down to math. Time to 15 nautical miles. 5 minutes. Someone in CIC runs the numbers automatically. 48 drones at roughly 180 kilometers per hour. Low-cost airframes, GPS-guided, no evasive logic, no real onboard judgment, just coordinates and fuel. But 48 payloads still mean 48 opportunities for one to slip through. The TAO studies the inventory on his console. SM-2 available, 42. RAM, 18. Phalanx mounts standing by. Then he lifts the handset. Hold missiles. The words seem to hang in the room. A beat of silence, then he repeats it. Say again. Hold missiles. Conventional weapons only if required. Stand by. On the forward deck, between the vertical launch system and the bridge, a flat panel array shifts almost imperceptibly toward bearing 060. It has no barrel, no spinning dish, no dramatic silhouette. To anyone without context, it looks like just another antenna fixed to the superstructure. Weapon system online, the Surface Warfare Coordinator reports. 5:46, range 15 kilometers. The lead 12 drones descend a little more, flattening their profile. The sea-skimming group rides the troughs. On radar, they blink like fireflies in a storm of noise. Hawkeye's voice stays calm, all contacts steady, no maneuvering. The TAO gives a single nod. Authorize. No missile leaves the tubes. No smoke rises into the sky. Instead, the flat panel begins to hum with power pulled from the same generators that feed the ship's radar, lights, and climate systems. 5:47:12. 17 contacts in the eastern arc vanish from the Aegis display. They do not break apart on screen. They do not flare. They simply disappear. Symbols blink and drop away. Radar returns dissolve into static. Lost track, 17. The watch team scans secondary sensors. Multiple surface splash confirmations. No one celebrates. There is no time. 31 remain. Reacquire sector. Pulse ready in 6 seconds. That is the recharge cycle. 6 seconds while capacitors rebuild, while power flows through thousands of gallium nitride elements, combining into a focused beam invisible to the naked eye. 5:47:21. Fire! Another silent release. 22 more tracks blink out at once. Airframes designed to survive wind and rain suddenly lose the one thing keeping them in the air: working electronics. GPS units overload. Control boards fail. Motors keep turning for a fraction of a second, then the noses tip down. 22 more drop into the Gulf. 9 contacts remain. They are riding the edge of the engagement cone, just outside ideal energy density. CIWS engage. On deck, the phalanx mounts spin up with a rising mechanical whine every sailor recognizes instantly. The M61A1 rotary cannon sends tungsten downrange at 4,500 rounds per minute. 4 drones are torn apart in 11 seconds. Debris falls into open water. Ram away. 2 missiles launch. Infrared seekers lock onto the last heat signatures. 5 launches would have been possible, only 2 are needed. The final contacts come apart in mid-air. 5:48, 48 inbound, 48 down, missiles expended, 2 RAM, SM-2 magazine untouched. High above, an Iranian surveillance drone circles at 12,000 feet, feeding the entire event back to shore. It expected to see American interceptors burning through a finite inventory. It expected smoke trails and expensive responses to inexpensive threats. Instead, it saw almost nothing. Closer to the coast, 3 launch sites come alive at once. new heat signatures bloom on Hawkeye's scope. Multiple launches, count 115. Correction, 120. This time the TAO does not hesitate. All stations prepare for saturation. The flat panel array shifts again, aligning with the new threat axis. The first wave had been a probe. This is the real test. 6:02 local time, 120 airborne. Multiple bearings, northeast and east primary. Additional low-level contacts forming along the coastline. The Aegis display fills in real time until it looks crowded. 47 from the northeast, 38 from the east, 35 lifting low, hugging the shore before turning seaward. The pattern is deliberate, staggered altitude, staggered timing, designed to create overlapping engagement windows. Time to impact, 18 minutes. Inside CIC, nobody wastes words on the obvious. This is saturation doctrine in pure form. Force the defender to spend more than the attacker. Empty the launch cells. Wait for the gap. The TAO studies the geometry. Assign meteor continuous pulse scheduling. Sector 1, northeast. The flat panel array slews a few degrees. 6:04, range 18 kilometers. The first formation tightens into a 25-degree arc. 41 drones, closely spaced, altitude steady at 300 feet. Hawkeye confirms clean track. No maneuvering. Engage. The pulse is silent. No visible beam. No flash on screen. 41 symbols blink out almost together. 41 lost. Surface search radar confirms multiple splashes. Debris begins to dot the water where the formation had been seconds earlier. 6-second recharge. Capacitors refill. Cooling pumps surge. Shipboard lighting never flickers. Sector 2, east. 38 drones enter the cone. Fire. Another invisible discharge. 38 contacts disappear. No missile trails, no intercept arcs, just absence. 79 down. The third group is different. 35 sea skimmers at 30 feet, riding the wave tops. Their returns smear into sea clutter. SPY struggles to separate them cleanly. Hawkeye, higher up, still has them. Its radar at 25,000 feet feeds precise targeting coordinates through cooperative engagement. Sector 3, depress angle. The array tilts slightly to compensate for the low altitude geometry. Pulse. 35 more tracks collapse together. Total firing time across 3 sectors. 18 seconds of actual emission. 114 drones down. No vertical launch cells opened. The watch team exhales, but not fully. 6 contacts unaccounted for, the air controller says. Possible terrain masking. Low level near merchant traffic. On the surface display, a tanker appears at 11 kilometers, plowing northbound. Its bulk disrupts the air picture. Moments later, 2 faint returns climb above the tanker's superstructure. Contact regained. 2. Pulse. 2 more vanish. 4 remain. They are fast enough and low enough that the engagement cone only catches them at the edge. Energy density is not enough for a confident finish. CIWS standby. The phalanx mounts pivot, tracking what looks like empty ocean until radar finally resolves motion against the waves. Contact bearing 085. Range 3.2. The rotary cannons open up. A 4-second burst. 1 drone comes apart. Second burst. Another. 2 remain. Range 2.8. Ram engage. 2 RIM 116 missiles streak outward. White trails cut briefly across the sky. Both hits are clean. 6:08. 120 inbound. 120 down. Missile expenditure. 2 RAM. SM. 2 inventory untouched. On a monitor tied to electronic surveillance, the Iranian Mohajer-class drone continues its orbit at 12,000 feet, transmitting live imagery back to shore. It has seen no interceptors for the first 79 losses, and only 2 short missile trails at the end. At a ground station near the coast, operators move through telemetry channels. 120 feet have gone dark in less than a minute. No large flashes, no intercept patterns, just static. They have their answer, even if they do not understand it yet. Back at sea, the TAO lowers the handset slowly. Thermal status. Core temperature elevated, but within margin. Cooling stable. Meteor's heat exchangers push seawater through narrow channels, bleeding off the heat from sustained pulses. Then another report comes in. New launches. Count 80. 4 bearings plus surface contacts leaving harbor. Fast movers. The large display updates again. 80 new drones lifting from 4 coastal sites. 6 small surface combatants accelerating south at more than 50 knots. This time the geometry is more complicated. Air and surface timelines now intersect. Time to drone impact, 44 minutes. Time to small boat missile range, 23. The TAO answers instantly. Maintain Meteor at ready. Assign Romeo to surface sector outside active cone. Begin full battle space scheduling. The array shifts again. The first wave was a probe. The second was saturation. The third is coordination. And somewhere ashore, someone believes the magazine math is finally about to turn in their favor. 6:20 local time. 2 ballistic launches detected, bearing 340. Boost phase confirmed. The voice remains steady, but every eye in CIC shifts to the upper corner of the display where 2 tracks rise fast, far faster than any drone. Mach 3 in terminal descent, anti-ship ballistic profile. At the same moment, 80 more drone contacts appear across 4 bearings. Surface radar confirms 6 fast attack craft driving south at more than 50 knots. Hull slamming against open water. 3 timelines, 1 battle space. 90 seconds to ballistic intercept window. The Air Defense Coordinator calls. The TAO makes the call immediately. SM-2 Block 3. 4 birds launch. This time the forward deck erupts. 4 missiles punch out of the vertical launch cells in staggered sequence. White plumes rise hard, then arc toward the upper atmosphere. Inside CIC, geometry becomes survival. Meteor is already oriented northeast to handle the drone bearings, but a high-powered microwave pulse does not care whether the electronics are friendly or hostile. It will affect outbound guidance packages just as readily as enemy systems. Interceptor transit through sector in 4 seconds, the system warns. Meteor cease northeast, shift south and east. The panel slews. The microwave cone retracts from the path of the outbound SM-2S. For 11 seconds, the northeastern arc goes dark. That is the window saturation doctrine counts on. 22 drones from the 80 drone wave push through that corridor, riding their programmed GPS routes. Blackout northeast contacts closing. High above, the 2 ballistic warheads separate and begin terminal descent. Electro-optical seekers adjust aim. SM-2s on final. On the display, friendly and hostile trajectories converge at 30 kilometers altitude. 2 flashes appear, clean intercepts. Debris falls harmlessly away. Ballistic threats neutralized. Reopen northeast sector. Meteor swings back. Capacitors are charged. Pulse. The 22 drones that use the blackout corridor vanish mid-track. No smoke, no fireball. Just silence on the scope. Meanwhile, the 6 fast attack craft continue closing from the south, carving white wakes across the sea. Romeo airborne, bearing 140 kilometers. An MH-60R. Seahawk skims low over the surface, deliberately routed outside every active microwave arc. Sector scheduling keeps the helicopter clear of the beam. Hellfire armed. The helicopter locks onto the lead boat. A streak flashes outward. Impact. The hull breaks apart. Fuel ignites. Second missile. Third. Fourth. 6 Hellfires in under 8 minutes. 6 fast attack craft reduced to drifting debris before any can reach anti-ship missile release range. Back in the air picture, the remaining 58 drones from the 80 contact wave spread across multiple bearings. Continuous pulse sequence, the TAO orders. Sector East, fire, 21 gone, 6-second recharge. Sector Southeast, fire. 18 more drop, 6 seconds. Sector Northeast, clean of friendly interceptors, now fire. 19 more collapse from the sky. Total emission time, under 30 seconds. 80 drones reduced to wreckage. Iranian electronic warfare stations begin transmitting noise across multiple bands, attempting to jam radar and disrupt coordination. Hawkeye reports jamming ineffective at altitude. Clean feed maintained. Meteor does not rely on radio control for its effect. It delivers energy. There is nothing to jam in the way the operators expect. Then comes the final escalation. Additional launches detected. Count 60. Multiple coastal sites. 60 more drones lift at once, staggered to complicate thermal cycles. Meteor engages immediately. Pulse 1, 53 disappear in rapid succession. But the Gulf heat and sustained firing begin to push the cooling system toward its limit. Core temperature approaching ceiling, time to mandatory cooldown, 90 seconds. 7 drones remain airborne. They are spaced deliberately, riding the edge of previous engagement zones. For the first time since 547, the directed energy system goes offline. Range 11 kilometers, speed 185 kilometers per hour. CIWS ready. 3 drones enter the minimum engagement envelope. The Phalanx mounts roar again, shredding composite airframes at 4 kilometers. 3 down, 2 more at 6 kilometers. Ram engage. 2 interceptors launch, both score. 2 drones remain, closing at 5 kilometers. Meteor cooling cycle complete. System green. The flat panel snaps back to bearing 075. Final pulse. The last 2 tracks blink out at 9 kilometers and fall into the Gulf without flame. 6:31. Across the battle space, 2 ballistic missiles intercepted. 6 fast attack craft removed. 228 drones eliminated. SM-2 expenditure 4. Ram 4. Hellfire 6. Everything else handled by a system drawing power from the same generators that run the ship's air conditioning. High above, the Hawkeye continues its orbit, its radar mapping not only threats but origins. Every coastal launch door that opened, every mobile launcher that moved from concealment, every radar that dared transmit. Ashore, telemetry feeds have gone dark in waves. Something has broken the model, and the strike group's magazines remain largely full, 6:38 local time. Satellite confirmation shows more activity at coastal sites. Blast doors opening, mobile launchers relocating. The air picture is finally clean. No inbound tracks, no flashing symbols rushing toward the center of the screen. But the engagement is not over. While Meteor has been pulsing across sectors, while interceptors climbed and helicopters hunted surface contacts, something else has been happening at 25,000 feet. Hawkeye has been refining geolocation packages. Multiple fixed sites are now marked on the large display. Small red diamonds appear along the coastline. Precise coordinates derived from radar emissions, infrared signatures, and the brief thermal bloom of launch rails. Every site that activated, every radar that transmitted, every transporter erector launcher that rolled out into firing position. They have all revealed themselves. Accuracy within 3 meters, the air controller confirms. The TAO studies the grid overlay. Push data to strike group. Encrypted bursts move targeting packages ship to ship across the formation. Destroyers update Tomahawk mission planning consoles. The carrier air wing begins building routes. No one raises their voice. There is no celebration in CIC, just a quiet recalculation. 6:42. Coastal radar emitting intermittently, attempting to reacquire picture. They are trying to understand what happened. For nearly an hour, Iranian operators watched drone telemetry feeds disappear in clusters. No obvious missile exhaust, no long interceptor trails, no visible signature large enough to explain the losses. Now their coastal sensors blink on and off, searching for answers. Every emission adds another coordinate to the map. Additional radar sites tagged. The Hawkeye remains beyond reach, above the jamming layer, feeding a steady stream of clean data through cooperative engagement. The strike group's magazines remain mostly intact. SM-2 inventory reduced by 4, RAM reduced by 4. Hellfire by 6. Offensive cells untouched. The doctrine that depended on draining those cells has failed. Recommend readiness for follow-on strike, the operations officer says. The TAO nods. Stand by for tasking. 6:47. On the carrier's flight deck, yellow shirts move with controlled urgency. FA-18S are powered. Ordnance crews finalize loadouts. Target coordinates flow directly into mission computers before engines even spool. There's no need for broad area searching, no need for guesswork. The drones, the ballistic launches, the fast attack craft. Each activation has exposed a node in a coastal network built over years. Launch rails that opened for seconds are now fixed on a map. Mobile launchers that rolled into the sunlight left thermal traces and track signatures. Command relays that transmitted targeting data revealed their frequencies and positions. They did not just expend drones, they illuminated their infrastructure. 6:51. Tomahawk programming complete on 2 ships. A secondary display in CIC shows projected flight paths hugging terrain, programmed to strike hardened shelters identified less than 30 minutes earlier. The TAO checks the air picture once more. Clear, sea state moderate, visibility unrestricted. The same calm water that absorbed nearly 300 drones now reflects a carrier strike group that never came close to exhausting its defenses. High-powered microwave pulses handled most of the threat. Conventional weapons were used only where kinetic interception was required. The magazine math never turned. 6:55. Strike Group Command authorizes pre-planned options. Execute on order. There is no dramatic countdown, no shouted command sequence, just confirmation loops and authentication codes. Across the formation, systems align. Ashore, operators still sift through static, trying to understand why hundreds of GPS-guided payloads fell out of the sky with so little visible warning. They do not yet know that every launch door they opened was measured. Every radar sweep they transmitted was triangulated. Every attempt to blind the strike group only clarified the map. 7:06 local time. Strike authorization received. There is no pause for debate. The targeting packages have been refined for nearly 30 minutes. Launch sites verified. Mobile launchers tracked from shelter to firing position and back again. Coastal radar nodes cataloged down to operating frequency and pulse pattern. The battle space is quiet now, quiet enough to feel deliberate. Tomahawk stations manned and ready. On the destroyer's forward deck, vertical launch cells remain sealed, each one identical from above. No spectacle, just steel plates over stored velocity. Execute. A muted thud moves through the hull as the first Tomahawk leaves the ship. Its booster ignites seconds after clearing the cell. It pitches low almost immediately, flattening into terrain following flight. Second missile. Third, on 2 separate ships, additional launches follow in staggered cadence, each assigned to a different node along the coastline. From CIC, no one watches the missiles visually. They watch telemetry, guidance steady, fuel flow normal, all birds nominal. High above, the E-2D Hawkeye widens its orbit, no longer painting inbound threats, only watching for a response. None comes. 7:14. Impact 1. A compact flash appears on an infrared feed from a distant sensor platform. A hardened drone storage shelter near the shoreline collapses inward as the Tomahawk penetrates and detonates. Impact 2. A mobile launcher caught while returning to concealment is engulfed by a chain of secondary blasts. Impact 3. Coastal radar sites silent. One by one, the red diamonds along the coastal grid blink out. No follow-on launches come from those positions. No additional telemetry feeds return. The network that launched nearly 300 drones that morning begins to collapse in sections. Back aboard the destroyer, the TAO studies the updated map. Battle damage assessment, multiple confirmed hits. Secondary detonations observed at 3 sites. Radar emissions ceased at 2 additional nodes. The carrier's flight deck remains active, but aircraft stay at ready rather than launching. There is no need for a mass strike package. Precision has already changed the coastline. 7:22. Surface picture clear. No fast movers. The Gulf returns to its normal rhythm. Merchant traffic, distant patrol craft, heat shimmer rising off steel decks. Meteor remains powered but idle, cooling stable. Core temperatures nominal. It did not consume a missile for most of the engagement, it did not leave an obvious signature, and it did not run dry. The arithmetic saturation doctrine depends on never appeared. Vertical launch cells remain largely full. Offensive capacity remains intact. Inventory update, the weapons officer reports. SM-2-4, Ram-4, Hellfire -6, Tomahawk -8. Against 300 drones, 2 ballistic missiles, and 6 fast attack craft, the difference between depletion and dominance came down to what was not expended. 7:30. Ashore, surveillance cameras capture smoke rising from former launch sites. Command relays that transmitted targeting data earlier are now silent. Antennas are bent, scorched, or simply dark. Operators who watch drone feeds vanish in clusters are now staring at a different screen, static over positions they once believed were hidden. The Hawkeye makes another pass, confirming the absence of new emissions. No additional launches detected. Inside CIC, the watch team resets from active engagement to guarded readiness. Coffee cups are finally lifted from consoles where they have sat untouched since 0542. The tactical action officer glances once at the flat panel array visible through the forward camera feed. It is still unremarkable, almost ordinary, but it changed the equation. The plan had been built around draining magazines. Every incoming drone was supposed to cost an outgoing missile. Volume was supposed to win eventually. Instead, they encountered a system that turns fuel into ammunition, a network that schedules sectors in milliseconds, and a weapon that removes targets without leaving smoke behind for anyone to study. 7:34. Strike group status, fully mission capable. No damage, no depleted defenses, no exposed gap. The ocean carries fragments of composite airframes and broken hulls, rolling over them without ceremony. The final log entry is brief. 300 drones, 2 ballistic missiles, 6 fast attack craft, all neutralized. Missile reserves preserved, coastal network degraded. The clock keeps moving. The carrier strike group resumes its patrol at steady speed, hulls cutting through calm water as if nothing had happened. But somewhere along the shoreline, planners are recalculating, because what launched from that deck this morning changed the balance in a way they did not expect. And now they know it exists.